of that, so it's all set regarding who will finish in the top four. Any hope of any drama next week were extinguished after those results for Arsenal and United. Spurs breathe a huge sigh of relief after shooting themselves in the foot over recent weeks. Chelsea are third. How did that happen? We'll talk about Chelsea in a minute. Where should we start, Craig? United?
Yeah, I think we've got to start with United again because, certainly on this occasion, because that was another abysmal performance when you look at the opposition. That's the key here.
Yeah.
Hapless Huddersfield, who could hardly win a game this season, seems to me been relegated weeks and weeks ago. Everybody's trampled over them. And you've got Huddersfield and Cardiff to give yourself an improbable chance, but not an impossible chance, to get in the top four and guarantee Champions League football next year. You've got Tottenham falling over themselves. They've got Everton, which is a tough game. You've got Arsenal, we know, are not in good form and are weak away from home. They got Burnley. And you have two relegated teams and you can't pick up the points is absolutely abysmal. And I think it just tells you where they are as a football club, as a squad, and even as a management, because I've said it once and I'll say it again, if you want to laud Ole Gunnar Solskjaer for the job, and I know these are not his players, but if you want to laud him for coming in and picking everybody up, then you can't not justify some criticism, not all, but some criticism for some of these recent results and performances. One can't go without the other.
It's incredible when you take a look at the last 11 games. This is after that PSG result, after that extraordinary comeback in Paris. Just the 2 wins, 7 defeats, 2 draws. I want to kind of focus on today. How does that happen?
I don't know. Listen, you've got all to play for in terms of Manchester United and their own aspirations, albeit you asking favours from somebody else, but you've got to do your job first. A couple of weeks ago, Marcus Rashford was a little bit critical, or very critical, of their performance against City, saying these are the games that we simply don't lose. And it's true. It speaks to a mentality that's been lost by Manchester United. Manchester United under Sir Alex Ferguson, we say this time and time again, what they did better than anybody else is win the games that they were supposed to win. Everybody else could look at top 6 tables and whatnot, but Manchester United won every game that they were supposed to. Now all of a sudden you look at this Manchester United, and it's to say it's a shadow of its former self is an understatement.
Craig, you brought this stat to my attention today, and you've had some terrible stats over the last couple of days, but this is quite an extraordinary one. This is unbelievable. Just explain this to us.
So the bottom 3 who are relegated had not picked up 1 point against the the top 6 teams in the Premier League. So up until this game today, 34 games have been played between the top 6 and the bottom 3 relegated teams, and the bottom 3 had been spanked every time. So up popped Manchester United.
It's unbelievable.
And eventually, on the penultimate weekend of the Premier League, Huddersfield are the team that takes a point off one of the top 6, which I think just sums the whole situation up. It sums Man United up. This is a club that's rudderless from the top. You know, the playing squad is poor, very poor for a club of this standard. You have, ultimately, you have defenders that are not good enough. You've got fullbacks for the last few years that are actually converted wingers. Valencia and Young and so on. And okay, at times they've done a decent job, particularly Valencia, but he's still a converted winger. For Manchester United, really. And the Glazers, the fans are asking questions, but do the Glazers ever ask, is Ed Woodward the right guy to run this football club? If the answer is yes, he's making his money, then fine. But the answer is the football strategic decisions have been abysmal. And I include the overzealous hiring full-time of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. At what point is a man who's managing in Norway to the standard he is the fit to take Manchester United forward? And I've said that 100 times. But somebody's made that decision. They're going to have to stick with it now. He's talking about this is a Europa League squad. Well, that's fair enough. But a Europa League squad should still be good enough to get results against the teams that they've played recently, and particularly Huddersfield today. It stinks from the top down. You've got a goalkeeper who is, I believe, according to reports, has been given a take it or leave it contract offer. So we don't know how that's going to work out. You've got a midfielder in Pogba who has long looked as if he doesn't want to be there. And you've got half the squad plus who shouldn't be there full time. So
plus Alexis Sanchez on 500 grand.
Plus him picking up, which was another poor decision from Ed Woodward, and they're probably still paying a couple. They're probably still paying Mourinho. They're probably still paying Van Gaal.
Yeah.
Who knows? David Moyes may still be on the payroll. I don't know. The whole thing just stinks of poor decision after poor decision after poor decision on the football front. Yes, they might be making money for the shareholders. I don't know. I don't really delve into those things too much. I look at the playing squad and I look at the decisions being made. And I'll say it again, you know, apart from his mates in the media, who else would think that a nice fella like Ole Gunnar Solskjaer would be the man to get Man United out of this pickle long term? Is
this the worst pickle they've been in since Fergie left?
Yes, because Moyes was in there and there wasn't that much damage done in 7 months. And then obviously, you know, Van Gaal comes in and the problems are still there. And then in all fairness, as much as he was poor this year and he brought it on himself, I said this to you earlier, Mourinho did take this squad to second place.
Yeah, and we laughed when he boasted about that, wouldn't we? He kind of came out and said it's one of the greatest achievements.
I've said all along what I thought happened was he took him to second. He realised through his experience that what was needed. He came to the US here in the summer. He wasn't getting what he wanted. He was on the phone and he looked miserable and he was not getting the transfers. And I thought he sacked it then. He thought, I need out of here then. So he gave up the ghost. I'm not saying that's right, but I think that's what happened. So ultimately he got them to second and then thought, I'm dealing with this guy, Ed Woodward, who hasn't got a clue. He's not bringing the players in we need. This is going downhill. His attitude was terrible. That came through to the players. Then when Solskjaer comes in, which wasn't a bad decision as a short-term decision. I had no problems with that. They picked up and got some great results. Then Woodward couldn't wait to get the bit of paper out to give him the contract because guess what? That's going to make me look good with the fans. Yeah. I'm going to get the fans back and say, I'm going to get Ole's the man. He's the man. Get him on paper. Another bad decision. And it's just one bad decision after another and after another. And look at the distance between them and Liverpool and City. It's miles.
Am I stretching things here? For example, if I'm a player, I think this could be the first time this has ever been the case, I would prefer to go to Tottenham Hotspur than Manchester United.
Yes, I think so. I think you're right in saying that this is probably the first time you're seeing that. And to your previous question about this being the biggest pickle that they've found themselves in, I think the further removed we get from Sir Alex Ferguson and that era, the more desperate it becomes for Manchester United. It's not the first time they finished outside the top four and they've rebounded from that to finish second. But the trouble is right now, given the distance between Manchester United and not just City and Liverpool, but I think Spurs as well, given the fact that I'm not really sure that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is the manager that brings a player to the club, a club without Champions League football. This is a huge concern. You look at Mauricio Pochettino, you look at what Spurs are doing and what you expect them to be about to do, given their new stadium, given that they've had pretty much a hiatus on spending over the last couple of seasons, you expect that to change. And right now, you think in Spurs is the better club to be at.
And there are, it's not just Spurs, so many clubs are going to be busy
around the world.
Are going to be busy this summer. And the problem is now, as Manchester United, you can't rely on just throwing money at people because other teams can do that. And also, you're going to have to rely on a manager with experience and tactical nous, which Solskjaer hasn't proved. And this would be a real concern for me if you're a United fan, knowing that you can't just throw money at these problems and it will get solved. No. You're going to have to be clever in the transfer market. You're going to have to trust your manager, who, over the last 2 months, has just seen his world collapse.
And you know, we've got to get away from... No, we don't have to, but some people have to get away with the fact that you can't call Solskjaer a novice. He's been managing quite a long time, you know. He's been managing quite a long time in Norway and in England. Just not with any great success. But the fact is he was a Man United player and he had success for them. So he's the man that's going to take them forward. And there are people, stupid people, very stupid people, who have said, well, it worked for Zidane and it worked for Pep Guardiola. You can't ring-fence those as three people in the same category because Zidane didn't... I think he only signed... We didn't sign a player. Maybe one player. The squad was there. You know, Xavi, Busquets, Iniesta were coming through. Yep. Eto'o was there. Messi was there. Henry. You know, there was problems at Barcelona that you had to fix, but you had the nucleus. There's no nucleus at Man United. There is no nucleus. You know, Pogba will probably leave. They want to try and cash in him. If De Gea goes, which is a good possibility, How do you attract people? The only way you can attract people is throw piles of cash at it. So you're overpaying for everybody.
Yeah.
And the problem worsens. And meanwhile, other clubs, strategically it would seem, have got a much better business model. Yes, United have the money, they have the clout, but do they have the know-all and the experience to go out and do things properly? And I think the answer to that, clearly in the last 5 years or whatever it is, has been no. Categoric no.
So a bad day for Manchester United, also a terrible day for Arsenal, of course, drawing 1-1 against Brighton. Here's the thing, when I'm watching this game, Craig, I'm thinking, how is this an Arsenal side who dominated Napoli over the 2 legs, who comfortably got through that? It's a Valencia side who are no mugs either. You know, they're battling for top 4 in Spain. How can you be like that on a Thursday and then so rubbish at the weekend?
Yeah, I think there's one way to put this. It's like, you know, Chelsea in third have been the best of the worst. Just simple, the best of the worst. And you know, you think back, that's Arsenal now. The last 4 league games, which is 12 points, have picked up 1 point. That's just not going to get it done. I mean, he played a weekend team, I believe, if memory serves me right, against Crystal Palace at home. That was the first of those, I can't remember, the first of those 4 games. They got walloped. And then they got walloped at Leicester. And then that was a pretty open game here against Brighton, who are safe, which is a little bit of pressure off, but still, you're at home. So for me, it's a poor Arsenal squad. And I think Emery has done decent things with it, but he's not without blame himself. Yeah. But hence the fact that he could still win the Europa League and get them in. But what he needs, the only thing he needs to do before games is tell them it's Europa League.
Just pretend it's
Europa League and you might get a result, because it's been... I don't know, I look at them, I mean, and people will say, well, it's no different to Wenger. You've got to make that change sometime.
Yeah.
Now, we don't know if Unai Emery is going to be the man long term, but you had to make that change. You had to try and go in a different direction. That's where they're going. He's not without blame, but it's a pretty lacklustre Arsenal squad.
Meanwhile, how weird is it that Chelsea are third, booed off at half-time, some were chanting you're getting sacked in the morning to Sarri, but there they are. If you offered Chelsea fans third at the start of the season and maybe a place in the Europa League final, you probably, you would say that was a good season.
You would have
as Craig says, there is a feeling they're the best of the worst.
Yeah, you would have taken third place and a place in the Europa League final. We see what comes, especially when you see how good City and Liverpool have been. And it just speaks to how maybe Sarri has adjusted things. We were very critical of him at the turn of the year, I think rightly so, because of how stubborn he was, as though that's something to boast about. But he's been able to change things around. He's been able to involve the likes of Hudson-Odoi, who I know has been injured for the last few games, bring players in, make changes, and get the job done. And their football has been better. I think it also speaks volumes that in the game today, you are desperately poor against a decent Watford team who are always physical. But somehow you turn it around with a half-time team talk. I think that speaks to maybe a growing respect for Sarri in that dressing room.
I don't think anybody can get in the top 4 out with the 2 boys at the top and say, oh, we've done a good job.
Right.
Look at the gap.
Yeah.
Look at the gap between the 3rd and 4th and 1st and 2nd. You haven't done a good job.
Yeah.
Tottenham did a decent job for a while until the injuries and everything kicked in the squad. The rest, no.
Manchester City, of course, in action tomorrow, looking to go back to the top of the table. They're at home against Leicester City. In the final day sees Liverpool host the Wolves. Meanwhile, City is at Brighton. City odds on to win the Premier League and big favourites as well. People are trying to spin this into a game in which City could lose, but according to the bookies, City 6-1 on to take all 3 points. Well, on the next edition of the show, we'll be taking you through all the action that Leeds United, of course. Meanwhile, the other one, it will be West Brom against Aston Villa. Now, those games are available on ESPN+. It all starts on Saturday. Villa against West Brom, 7:25 Eastern. Meanwhile, the Derby Leeds game slightly later on Saturday afternoon. What's this strange music? 12:10 Eastern. Meanwhile, Nottingham Forest took to Twitter to say your winner, following thousands of fan votes. Nottingham Forest are delighted to announce that Jay Lolly has been crowned as the club's player of the season. Well, Joe Lolly responded, and what a response it was. Would also like to sincerely say thank you to absolutely none of my teammates, as this is an individual award. Losers. Good. That's what you want. Proper stuff. Excellent.
A little bit of sarcasm.
That was funny. I enjoyed that.
Goes a
I
long
enjoyed
way.
it. Oh, that's good.
When you were Hammer of the Year, was that similar sentiments?
Well, I didn't have Twitter.
No.
That's the only difference. It's the only difference.
That was it. Thank you for speaking of Twitter.
Otherwise, we'd have seen you driving about in your
I don't know what
yellow
you're talking about. I
Maserati.
have no idea what you're talking about, Mr. Burley.
Filming himself.
Lots of action on Twitter. As always, we cover it on Extra Time.
Oh, not
Stay
again.
tuned. Welcome into Extra Time. As always, thank you very much for your tweets.
Sure? Are you
Right.
sure?
Right. We're talking about no Messi and Ronaldo tweets, correct?
Why is Ronaldo not in any GOAT conversations anymore? Should you scrap it, do it, ban it?
Ban what?
Anything on Ronaldo. Anything on Ronaldo or Messi, it's done. If you want to know about that, take a look at past Extra Times. Which team is going to take Alexis Sanchez?
One with a lot of money.
Who would touch that? No, well, you wouldn't go for him now, would you at all?
Nope.
No. And whoever does, you know United are going to have to pick up a significant bit of his salary anyway.
Yeah.
There you go. That's all I've got to say on that.
No, I mean, no.
Question for Shaq and Craig. Quote.
Good thing, because both Craig and I are here.
There you go. I think
timing.
I think about golf way too much. It's a problem. Like during a game, yeah. So this is Steph Curry talking about during a match. Obviously, did your mind ever drift off to golf during a game? Take golf out. Did your mind drift, Shaq, occasionally?
Yeah. Mine drifts.
Where did it
Every now and
drift?
then.
Where did it drift to?
Wherever the breeze may blow it. That's all I can offer to that.
But I imagine it was easier for goalkeepers' minds to drift than.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were a bit busier. You'd be standing about doing that for about half an hour. I never thought. No, I didn't drift to golf back in the day because I didn't play golf anywhere near the amount I play now.
Right.
I probably played.
But did it drift
Once.
to say maybe
A
what
night
was
out.
going to happen in the evening?
Well, yes, I can take that further. We were every now and again when we were at Celtic, the boys would go to Dublin off the back of a game on a Saturday. So it was basically going on a drinking trip.
Sure.
Or we'll call it a social trip.
Right.
And
Team
then-
bonding, I believe, is a.
Yeah, well, all the team didn't go, but it was a fair chunk. So we'd always got a good crew. So we played on the Saturday, and they usually did it if we didn't have a midweek game. So we had a weekend between, we'd go to Dublin for 48 hours. And we were playing Hibs, and there was usually about 10 of us went, and it was always the same suspects, by the way. And we were playing Hibs away, and we were in Edinburgh, and we were flying that night about an hour and a half, 2 hours after the game. And during the game, Big Alan Stubbs got at the centre half, went for a header. I think he headed the back of the striker in front, and he was down on the floor. There was blood everywhere. And Brian Scott come on, the physio, and he's patching him up. Bear in mind, this is the year we won the title, so
Right.
we're halfway through a title,
Yeah.
stopping 10 in a row. And Brian's treating Stubbsy, and I come over with a couple of the lads, and we went, is he going to be all right for Dublin tonight? Seriously. And Brian went, yeah, it should be all right. Yeah, no problem. Right. Take him off if you want, I don't care. But is he going to be okay for this drinking trip to Dublin? This is me.
I'm guessing he made it.
Of course he made it. His head would have had to have been hanging off before he ever came. So these things do tend to go on now and again.
Stevie, of course, has similar stories. I imagine Trent Alexander, maybe not so many.
No.
The next question is.
Those things don't happen as much now.
No.
Right. Put it that way.
Yeah.
That era of doing that is, I don't know if it's diminished completely.
I think
But
it is. I
probably has.
I think it's no more.
So where are we going? Nickel or Trent Alexander?
What do you mean? For a player?
Yes.
Oh, don't be
Yeah.
daft. Don't be daft. I mean, Trent Alexander's a very good young player, but Nickel was.
What a strange Twitter name.
Yes, I'm thinking of change.
Someone just sat on the keyboard.
And that could be a Stevie Butler account.
Yes, it could be.
No, Stevie would be.
No,
Stevie
Stevie
Trent
would-
Alexander-Arnold's going to have a hell of a career to get up with Nickel.
Definitely.
And he doesn't like... I wonder if Trent Alexander likes shepherd's pie.
I'll have to ask him.
Well, because it didn't do Stevie bad. He's been eating it every day.
No, we know Stevie's diet.
What, I ate healthy, he told me and you.
10 packets of crisps. If Barcelona win the treble again and outclass every other team in Europe, will leaving Barcelona be the worst decision Neymar ever made?
I can't get my head around that decision. I really can't. For the life of me, I don't understand how you leave a club as good and as successful as Barcelona to go to somewhere else because it will put you in a better standing for World Player of the Year. I mean, that just speaks to, as we've been discussing over the last few days, the way that the game is now perceived, even by those who are playing it. I find that ridiculous.
Why is there no talk of Ajax potentially winning a treble? They're in the cup final, well, they won the cup, didn't they, today?
Yeah.
Top of the league and in the Champions League semi-final. Yeah, Craig, why aren't you talking about Ajax winning the treble? What's wrong with you?
Because Barcelona is still in the Champions League.
I think it's probably because Dutch football is perceived to be a little under strength compared to other leagues.
I'm impressed you answered that seriously. How is Craig celebrating Chelsea's Champions League qualification? Of course, Chelsea, your team, is where you started. Little 16-year-old Craig.
I have a feeling he'll have a few Peronis this evening.
Yes. I would suggest that's mere consequence.
As you know, Daniel, I don't have a team.
No.
Right? I don't have a team, and that's the way it's been, and that's the way it will stay. Shall we tell... no, we can't. Have you any more questions?
No, what were you going to tell? The story? I think we need him here to tell the story,
Right.
don't we?
Yes.
I think that's
tomorrow.
fair.
He's here tomorrow, isn't he?
He says, Stephen, we've got a very
we've got to hear it from the horse's
story.
mouth. There's another great Nickel story.
Yes.
Nickel story.
Yeah, we
which
will.
hopefully he'll